The Hollywood writers' strike has, of course, wreaked havoc on Disney's business in recent months, but now that a deal has finally been struck, is this the perfect time to jump back into Disney stock while it is still down huge? Stick around for this fast format video to find out. Okay, well, as you guys know, I've been a longtime Disney shareholder, so seeing the current writer strike put even more pressure on an already heavily beaten down stock has been a little painful to watch, as it has now lost well over half its total value and is trading for just about the same price it was an entire decade ago. I'm not sure that a couple years ago anyone would have even expected to see this gigantic media entertainment behemoth ever trade this low again, but yet here we are. So, how did we get here and will we bounce back? Well, the fall can really be attributed to a number of different factors and headwinds that Disney has been dealing with over the past couple years. For one, after seeing a meteoric rise in Disney Plus subscribers during the pandemic, the number has actually started to decline in recent quarters. The biggest reason for that, though, was due to a shift in strategy for their Indian version called Hotstar that is now focusing on higher profitability, and after cutting expensive contracts for certain sports programming rights, the service temporarily lost millions of subscribers. Now, over time, I do expect this to matter less and less, but at the moment, Disney is going through a hard time here, and they really only made things worse by increasing prices on their plans, cracking down on password sharing, and they've even upset certain viewers that went as far as to boycott the brand over their stance on various political and social topics. As if these weren't big enough headwinds, though, the writer's strike only made things worse, as Disney was really forced to delay many different projects that could have potentially convinced users to stick around longer. For example, Marvel's Blade and Star Wars Andor Season 2 are just a couple of the multiple projects that had to be put on hold. And while some of that may not have an immediate impact, right now, or at least not yet, it's likely going to affect the next couple of quarters, which is not good for the stock since the market tends to be forward-looking and is likely punishing Disney stock ahead of time as a result. And really, none of these issues couldn't have come at a worse time, as Disney is desperately trying to transition their business away from legacy network television over to streaming, which is squeezing their margins and causing them to produce just about the lowest profits that we've seen in the past decade. This, however, is where, at least in my opinion, the bad news mostly ends and the future potential of a beaten down value stock starts to reveal itself. As yes, profits are down right now, but you have to remember that any giant transition in a huge business like this will take some time and money, but eventually I do believe that it'll start to pay off, which they continue to show progress on every single quarter too. The last one, for example, showed that streaming sales were only a billion shy of linear networks and grew by 9% while networks fell by 7%. The profit for networks also fell a massive 23% while streaming cut its losses in half. So it won't be much longer until we see streaming become profitable, and although profits are lacking, sales are at least rising, with Disney expected to generate about double the sales next year than what they did in 2017. Yet the stock is trading much lower today with a valuation that is over 30% cheaper than the sector on a PEG ratio basis. That's way too low for such a dominant and well-diversified entertainment leader like this, which, by the way, that diversification is what's helping them stay afloat in the meantime, as last quarter their parks, experiences, and products segment posted double-digit growth on both the top and bottom line, helping them generate billions of profits in the meantime. Now, that's a luxury that a rival like Netflix simply doesn't have. Speaking of which, even with all the recent issues, practically every projection out there has Disney Plus surpassing Netflix in the coming years, which is not even including Hulu or ESPN Plus. And on top of that, Disney still commanded the most box office market share in the entire world this year, despite it going through a decline. They still have the most popular theme parks in the world, including the top 8 and around half of the top 25. And now that the historic 5-month writer strike is officially over, after 99% of voters agreed to a new 3-year contract, well, Disney will be able to once again start fueling all of these different segments with more content to come. In fact, just their Marvel brand alone has a huge backlog of content that they've been working on. So if you add all of this up, I just think it makes Disney a solid long-term pickup at a historically low price for a world leader. And that's something that is hard for me to ignore. And look, I get that the stock is down a lot right now. I'm not saying that it won't go lower or that the recent issues are just going to magically disappear. In fact, they could get even worse if we were to go into a recession, for example. But what I am saying is that for me, at least in my opinion, I think that Disney's stock at today's price or any lower from here is an absolute steal for the long term. And it's obviously going to take some time until things get turned around, and I'm sure that there will be plenty of bumps all along the way. But I'm not too worried about that myself because I actually plan to use those bumps and that volatility to add to my position at a price that I honestly never thought I would get to buy at. I mean, I never thought I'd get just such a world leader like this with amazing brands like Disney at this cheap of a price. And I know it can be a bit of a controversial stock these days, but that's why I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. All of this is just my opinion. It's what I'm doing, but let me know how you all feel about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts and we can have a chat down there in the comments. But thanks again for stopping by, my friends. Hope you're all doing well. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.